and country award winners of the Chamanat International Women's Literary Award. Welcome to the mini outdoor salon stage. I'm inviting a person who works endlessly for promoting Southeast Asian literature. Please come up on stage with me, Anthony John Balisi. Give warm applause. Anthony is the rights director of the Kada Literary Agency from the Philippines. Hello, Anthony. How is your coffee? All good?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you to sponsor. Very good, very good, very good.
Please have a seat. The second most interesting figure in Southeast Asian literature, and only Jerome Bouchaud from France. He is a literary agent from Asia Passion Literary Agency from France. Welcome to Bangkok. So he just landed this morning from France, direct to, no, you are from Frankfurt. Yes. Yeah. Did you get enough sleep?
Yeah. Hi.
How are you, Jerome?
Yeah, I'm okay. Thank you. I'm a little bit tired, but it's okay. It's all gonna be good.
Enjoy.
Nice to meet you all.
And the third person, who is very beautiful from Hong Kong, we invite her for her sharpness in reading literature and also a literary agency as well, Miss Law. She is also known as a poet in her country. She is part of our judging committee in Chamanat International Women's Literary Award. How are you, Miss Law?
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Thanks, Sartika.
Have a seat. The next one, very popular lady from Indonesia, who worked for Gramedia International. Gramedia is the biggest publishing house in Indonesia. Please join us today, Intan of Anggraini, Indonesia. Hello, Mbak Intan. How are you today? Everything okay?
Sartika.
Please have a seat. The last one, our fellow friend, a publisher also from Malaysia, who support everyone here. Always, if I have no title, he always asks, "Do you have no title for me?" That's what the first question he always asks towards everyone. So that's why he gains a lot of attention in the publishing industry now. Kiridaren Jayakumar, please. Warm welcome. How are you, Kiri? Everything good?
Yeah, everything is good.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah. So yeah. Yeah. So yeah, these are my fellow friends in the backdrop of pushing the authors forward. So yeah, our questions would be centering around Seksan Prasertkul as a like a sample to, to go through deep down of how our effort in promoting Southeast Asian literature or ASEAN literature in general have been somewhat a little bit challenging and fruitful for some reason. So these guys and ladies have been busy enough for the past maybe 10 years or so. So I would like to start with perhaps Jerome, because he has a long history with Seksan Prasertkul. Maybe we would love to hear something from him. The first encounter with the works of Seksan Prasertkul, and then we will move to other panelists. So yeah, how was it? And please tell me the history.
Well, I actually never got to meet with Seksan, but my first encounter with his works came about back in 2014 when I got introduced to his translator, Baron. He was a Frenchman who used to live here in Thailand, and who was very much involved in translating all sorts of literary works from Thailand into English and French as well. And he was kind of like the person you would go to whenever you wanted sometimes your work to be translated into English and published maybe in a magazine or newspaper or even internationally as a book format. And he's the one who actually first told me about Seksan, and he was very close to him. Both of them were friends. And I know that they had been working on translating some of Seksan's work for some years, because actually the first book that was published in French language from Seksan was released in 1998, and that was a translation by Marcel, and it was a selection of short stories, and it was published under the title Vivre debout, which means to live standing up, straight, and which is very much what most of the stories by Seksan actually are about, research, how you find dignity and power and resilience no matter what conditions you're living in. And so that was the first time I got to be introduced to Seksan's work, and I guess the first short story that I read by him was one called Bamboo Bridge Over Rapids, and that was, I think it's part of the, I don't know which collection it's a part from, but it's one of the very first short stories that I read by him. And since then, I've always tried to see what other works have been coming out by Seksan in English. And I'm very happy to see that so many works by him now have been translated and published, and now are now available to international readers. I think it's great what you've been doing over the past few years to actually bring out all these translations and make them available to international readers. So that was my little story with Seksan.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Jerome was also a friend of Marcia Goran.
Yeah, we actually worked together. I was publishing this literary journal called Gentayu. I actually got a copy. I released that's a book that came out 10 years ago, almost 10 years ago. It's a collection of Thai short stories. Thai short stories and poetry translated into French. And Marcel was the translator for most of the stories. And so that's, Marcel was the one who really introduced me to the work of Thai literature and to a number of writers, and including Seksan. Yes.
Wow, interesting. We will be back at you again for talking about a little bit of Seksan's works that you have already read so far. And yeah, now we go to Intan. Yeah, as we know that Gramedia International via one of the imprint called KPG, Kompas Gramedia. Yes, right?
Pustakaan Populer Gramedia.
Pustakaan Populer Gramedia. Yeah. So this publishing house are interested in publishing rivers and elementary. Could you tell us a little bit about how the editorial choices put attention more on the essay work of Seksan, because it's the thickest one if you see the thickest one and the hardest one to understand, I think. Yeah.
So, before I would like to introduce myself. I'm Intan from Gramedia, in charge in foreign rights, and also a scouting part of Gramedia International, which is Water Lily Literary, which bring Kun Seksan's books to KPG, to Kepustakaan Populer Gramedia.
Plus a little bit
Yeah,
for this effort.
but my first encounter to Seksan's work is through Elite, which is with the catalogs, a very good quality of catalogs, and then you bring a lot of samples for all the books. But what our editor, which is Imin, couldn't be here, but he says hi. Imin said that Rivers and Elephant Trails brings the most his profile, his characters. And if you read Rivers and Elephant Trails, you can understand why he writes so many books, and also with literary short stories, with the theme of like a fisherman, sea, and understanding his relationship with nature, with people, how he understands his relationship with his father as well. So yeah, that's why because Indonesia doesn't know Seksan yet, we want to introduce to his character first. And Rivers and Elephant Trails really shows it, really shows his character, his decision, his life, like a very great adventurous life in Rivers and Elephant Trails.
Okay, we will get back at you again with the rivers and elephant shows. Now go to maybe Kiridaren first, yeah. Kiri, you have published. It's not a plan, but it's already published. As you could see, the book here, the Little Nelayan Fisherman.
Hello.
So Kiri, why did you choose Fisherman out of the manuscripts that we sent to you?
Good morning, everyone. Actually, I love how first of all we were doing the Southeast Asian series, a book or multiple books from each country. So we were I personally was very much interested on how the like fisherman stories from Thailand because if I'm not mistaken, we just published Ome and the Sea during that period. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. So I was reading Ome and the Sea again. That's one of my favorite. And then, so when I saw, okay, there's a fisherman story from Seksan, and I'm rereading it during this week in Bangkok, in Malay. So I'm really amazed by um, usually we say when we say that there's a soul in writing, right? There's a soul of the writer, or there's a soul in the book. So when you read Fisherman, you can feel that's his child, and he's trying to bring out his soul in the book. So Fisherman is a very short but very strong. There are multiple strong elements which I will share later, but there are multiple strong elements in one book, one short book. Something that I found it also in the Old Man.
Thank you, Kiri. We will get back at you again with Fisherman. And we also have two more from Philippines and Hong Kong. These authors read the same book, I think, because I sent the greatest ones and also Fisherman to them. Up to you. You can comment on the greatest ones, or you can comment to some of the short stories inside the book that you love the most. So yeah, maybe start with Anthony first, and then we.
Hello. Yeah. Actually, my introduction to Seksan, to Kun Seksan, was through Sartika when she sent us copies of the two works, and it's like I'm reading really something not foreign, so it's quite familiar. It's a shared experience between I think probably between the Thai society and Philippine society, And yeah, you have characters like ordinary people with very extraordinary struggles, as with the fisherman. And I'd like also to comment on what Jerome said. He mentioned about dignity, and I would like to label these books as dignity fiction, in contrast with poverty porn. So, yeah, since there's a lot of in cinema, you have that tag called poverty porn, where you highlight the struggles of the ordinary people. But I would love to call this as dignity fiction in relation to dignifying the lives of these ordinary people.
Okay, how about you? First encounter with Seksan Prasertkul.
Yes, it's my first encounter, and I've read a few short stories and also part of the fisherman. And it is a very kind of a realistic style writings about the ordinary people in Thailand, and it echoes with the Hong Kong writings in the 60s and 70s, where Hong Kong was still developing, and there were many people who were just like working ordinarily, but then they have their own struggle because a lot of people they migrate from the mainland and start their lives in Hong Kong, and they feel very alienated from the society. So the fisherman, with a very scenic depiction of how he works as a fisherman and his relationship with nature, echoes with a very important author called Shu Xiangcheng in Mandarin in Hong Kong. And there's a short stories about he's also a fisherman in Hong Kong. And then he, because he came from the mainland and he feels very bleak about his life in a very capitalist and fast developing society. And so the story describes the mist in Hong Kong in the harbor and all these the landscape echoes with the inner psychology of the protagonist. So I think this kind of writing and writing styles actually we can find resonance in Hong Kong writings as well.
Okay, we will dig into the Hong Kongese author who is in par with the works of Seksan Prasertkul. I believe everyone also have their minds when talking about comparative literature. And I will go back to perhaps Jerome, but before I will give a little bit spoilers about how we do in the creative, how this works is presented to you right now. Like we've been working for the past 3 years to actively translate all the works by Seksan Prasertkul. Hopefully, from the English version, we can jump to some other countries or some others languages. So we've been helped a lot by the translator. Of course, I will give the credit. Very hard work that he has done. Pairat Tempa Empire Jana. Our also literary agent from Elite Creative, and his interest in translating Kun Seksan other book that you could also perhaps will see and you could buy it in bookstore, Asia Books. So yeah, I would love to um, to call Kairat to stand up a little bit to show up a little bit in front of the audience here. So yeah. Yes. So yeah, my favorite books from Kun Seksan, to be honest, is maybe in here. I think I love the book called The Past because for me, I can feel that this book is very personal, like a very intentional and purposefully written. So, and and this book is written in a very careful way. So I think, yeah, if and when I read a book in English, I always think that if I translate that into Indonesian, it will be very poetic. And I think the poetic side of it, like maybe Kiridaren mentioned it as a soul in writing. The soul is very subtle in this book, The Past. So yeah, I will talk about it later. But yeah, we will jump to Jerome again. Jerome, since you read, I think you read Man and Tiger too. How do you like this story?
Yeah, I read Men and Tiger. I actually read just on the way here on the plane, just to refresh my mind a bit. A few of his stories, and including Man and Tiger, and also a few of his essays. And well, when it comes to the two are very different, but the two are very complementary in a way. They do work together very well in the sense that the short stories, as you mentioned, Louise, they're very realistic. They're very anchored in a reality that's very often centered around maybe poor a poor setting, family with struggles, and a lot of social issues that are described very directly and also very painfully, but also at the same time very efficiently. And I think it does a wonderful work, like not making, like you said, poverty porn, more like keeping the dignity of all his characters. Whereas that's for the short stories, the ones that I read on the plane. As for the essays, it's much more about himself. It's much more introspective, and it's also much more. It's less straightforward. You feel like he's actually asking himself a lot of questions that he doesn't have answers to. He's trying to grapple with his own reality that's very uncertain and changing. Whereas the short stories tend to like really like go straight to the point and be very sometimes like a punch in the face. The essays tend to meander and to be more reflective and meditative, and I really like that about him, that he's able to really give these two sides of himself in the two different formats. And so there is actually one sentence in the Man and the Tiger that I'm down because I thought it was quite. It's near the end of the story when that man is facing the tiger in the middle of the forest there and is really in awe in front of that magic figure and truly wonderful being that is the tiger that is really dominating the jungle. And he doesn't know what to do. He's like in fear, but at the same time, he is like in perfect harmony with the nature around him and with the tiger. And he says, because he knows that at some point he will probably have to shoot if the tiger sees him. So he's asking himself the question about that tiger. Was it wrong for a living being to exist in pride, courage, solitude, and spiritual freedom? That's what he's asking himself about the tiger. Is it wrong for that tiger to live there and exist in pride, courage, solitude, and spiritual freedom? And I feel like these four facets, pride, courage, solitude, and spiritual freedom, is very much a summary of what Seksan is all about. He can be, I mean, he stands up on his 2 feet, he can be a proud man, he's got courage, as we've seen through his years as a student and through his years in the jungle and whatever he did throughout his life. He also is very much a solitary man. He enjoys the solitude and he also gives himself time to think. And spiritual freedom, I think, we understand as well. So that's one sentence in the story that I thought was it's kind of like summarizing Seksan in just a very few words. And I don't know, it rang with me and I thought it was a good description of Seksan's work.
Interesting. Yeah, when I first read, I think when I first read the river, I thought, oh, this guy like a monk, you know, like a monk. So okay, I'm going back to Indonesia now. Talking about Seksan Prasertkul, and I think if we agree to what Kiri mentioned about the old man and the sea, then perhaps it's something about Hemingway inside it as well. So in Indonesia, we have Pak Sapardi Djoko Damono, which is our late, very senior author in Indonesia, who also wrote poetry, and he also wrote some short stories and collections, and also some of the novels. So, uh, do you think KPG also very much because KPG also published Sapardi Djoko Damono or the other publisher? Yeah, right. The newest one published by KPG, right? Media. Okay. Yeah, I also remember how reading Seksan Prasertkul is comparatively equal to when I read Sapardi Djoko Damono. How about that? What do you think, Intan?
Since I only read Rivers and the Elephant Trails, which is the essay, I cannot say about the comparison between the late Sapardi Djoko Damono and also Kun Seksan. But for the essay itself, I think it's lean towards like this one author that we represent as well, which is Desi Anwar. Desi Anwar also write the essay, the reflective essay, just like Seksan. But I think Kun Seksan has this strong, charismatic writing
Vocabularies.
vocabulary, which takes patience. I think reading Kun Seksan's book takes patience, requires patience a lot,
Energy, yeah.
and yeah, because nowadays I think a lot of book will give you like the plot twist, like jump like in your
Jump
face,
scare.
yeah, like something in your face like, from the very start, but in Kun Seksan's work, it's not like that. It's like Jerome say, like it was like yeah, like a river, like really, yeah, and then there you go. And I think it's quiet rain. This kind of nice. I think I believe in Thailand is also quiet rain for this kind of things.
When I first read A River and Eleven Trails, partially, I thought, oh, maybe it's like Gunawan Muhammad or something. But then again, I question a lot right now because I have read the other short story. What? Yeah, and also some novel, yeah, or novella. We call it novella for the fisherman. Again, thanks to the translator because it brought the lights for Kun Seksan for more broader and extended version of Kun Seksan can be realized by lady like us. So now back to Malay, I think. Yes. Kiri, about the book Nelayan, do you think that the readers in Malaysia will like the story or not? Or perhaps what can we do to kind of like prolong or extend the resonation of Kun Seksan story in Malaysia reader?
Um, Actually, while I'm listening from all sides, from all of them since last night and today, it's a little bit pity that I didn't read the other books yet. It's a little pity, and I hope to read the other books as well. So for the Malaysian market, actually, there's a huge rise in literary readings, and there's always a problem in Malaysian author. I would say the trend is that they can tone down the literary part. They try to be more mass appeal. So because when customers appeal, we can sell more. So I always try to ask them to push up on the literary part. This is for the authors. So now the authors and the public, the usual readers, they are craving for literary books from around the Southeast Asian especially, and also of course around the world, which we are actively translating. And thank you to Kyra, because without him we won't be able to read in English. Yeah, so that's what is happening in Malaysia. They are in hunger mode to read more books from other parts of the world, especially close by to Malaysia. And fishermen is something that is really, really close to Malaysia. Of course, related to countries with sea and all that. So definitely it will be well received. And what I wanted to add on is that to other add on to other people's point is that he's not explaining why the someone do why this person did that. He acknowledged that this is part of life and we should just carry on, and that's one of the beautiful part of his writing, and I hope to read more.
For sure, we will send you like bombard you with so many
Maybe I'll read
manuscripts.
a while back to Malaysia. Yeah.
Yeah, Kiri has promised to publish all of them. Okay, back again to Philippines. Anthony, do you think these books can be brought to your market in the Philippines, and which publishing house would resonate most? And perhaps we could also translate some Filipino authors in par with Seksan Prasertkul.
Definitely. This books works for the Philippines, and I think I mentioned earlier that it doesn't feel foreign at all. I think the experience of Seksan, Pun Seksan, resonates so much with Philippine experience that it's easily adaptable to Philippine users like first Andrea with Flowers Publishing, who does kind of this work, and we also have big one, Global Publishing, who's doing a lot of classics right now, and they might be interested in this kind of works.
Pibal, the biggest, one of the biggest,
Yes, one
right?
of the biggest, one of the biggest. And of course, when I first read the two books you sent me, there are three Philippine authors that resonate so much. We have two national artists. One is NBM Gonzalez, and when you talk about the rural life that Seksan talks about, it's very much similar to NBM Gonzalez. The way
NVM
NBM
Gonzalez.
Gonzalez, the
Okay.
way he describes the little things, the net, the smell of the river, the fish, the currents, it's very much similar. And when it comes to the social political dimensions, I think Kiri is familiar with this author, F. Chanel Jose. So and I think that book is being translated by Intan. It's also in that aspect, F. Chanel Jose, who has an independent publishing house and a bookstore, independent bookstore, is very much similar. The third author I would want to compare Home Seksan with is Bienvenido Santos. Bienvenido Santos.
Bienvenido Santos.
Yes, and he's been published by a lot of our university presses. And in terms of, talking about ordinary people living this extraordinary struggles, this structurally implemented struggles, you have Bienvenido Santos. And that's where the dignity, the dignity fiction I'm talking about comes in. So Benvenido Santos would also talk about ordinary people and their day-to-day struggles with the system and the pressure that the system puts on them, the social pressure. Yeah, so I think those three authors and the two publishers that I mentioned works very
Thank you
much.
so much. Thank you for your insights. Yeah, I do agree that reading Kun Seksan cannot be separated with reading his own life as a, as also as a, at the time he was very politically uh, uh, radical. Maybe we could say it's a radical, and at the time he led the student protest in 1970s. How about in Hong Kong? Do you have this kind of figure, a literary figure that has most of the journey is about defining, yeah, we have talked about him a lot, defining what spirituality means in the later days.
Well, yes, there are such like political figures in Hong Kong, especially in the protests in 2014 and 2019, but now they're in jail. Or even though they are now released, they really cannot talk about uh, much about the protests or anything about politics. So here, actually, after the 2019 movement, a lot of experience and emotions are repressed, and writers and readers are always trying to find ways to how to navigate these traumas or unresolved emotions that's left behind after the protest. So I think after reading Saksan and also some Southeast Asian writings on protests or people affected by the protests, I feel that these experiences can be bring into a Hong Kong scene in the form of translations. So even though we cannot talk about our own experience, I feel that we can read about others' experience, and that can somehow keep our memories alive. So when I'm reading a story called The Bamboo Flower by Kun Seksan, and there's a character who's kind of not he was like unintentionally or unwillingly involved in a social movement or protest in the village, but since then his life was altered. So he was not like being particularly provocative, but because he got a record in being in the movement, he cannot do certain things in the society, and he was being alienated from the society. I think this is the feeling that's felt by many Hong Kong people right now. Even though like there are some people who are very like progressive, but there are also people who don't really feel that they are in the movement. But in many ways, he may feel reconnected or somehow not connected. So there are a lot of emotions, different kinds of emotions that's happening in Hong Kong right now. So there's a story by a very young Hong Kong writer called Kiridaren in Cantonese, which I like a lot, which is about so young Hong Kong people. So this is actually after the 2019 movement. So it starts with a wedding planning. The female protagonist wants to plan her wedding with her mother, and he wants to invite a childhood friend who's like a class master back then. But then eventually, the reader will find out that this class master friend was in jail because of the protests. So the protagonist, first of all, was not really like, engaged, or she does not really understand about the protests. But because of like because of this like wedding, she tries to reconnect with the people in jail, and she wrote letter to the people in jail. And in 2019, Hong Kong people were fighting so hard. So this kind of understanding actually reconnects people inside and outside the protest. And I think this kind of reunion is very important and should be like keep revisited so that many the memories, the experience will keep alive because the government always wants to eradicate and always want us to forget everything. So by bringing these works into Hong Kong in Chinese, written Chinese or in Cantonese, I think that will help revive people's understanding and memories of our protests or the time that we have fought for ourselves.
Wow. Okay, now we only have 13 minutes left, so I think we would love to invite if there is to ask about anything about maybe give some um, some seasoning discussion perhaps, yeah, I'm inviting some audience to kind of give us a little bit more on the table. Is there anyone who wants to kind of please give some microphone?
Thank you so much for this amazing panel. I love listening to all of you and to know the success of your work in promoting Seksan's work to so many languages. So I want to thank you of literature from ASEAN. We really need your help. So I would like to hear your thoughts in general. What are the opportunities and challenges involved in promoting, literature from Southeast Asia and also China region?
Who will answer Miss Kimai with Anthony?
Thank you for the question, and I think opportunities. There's a huge opportunity out there to move literature from Southeast Asia and also from China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan to other parts of the world, especially in the Middle East. I'm working with a lot of agents in the Middle East and in North Africa also and in Central Europe, and there's a huge opportunity not just for the kind of works that Kun Seksan does, but all the genres involving Southeast Asian content. Like for example, when we were at the Philippines was Glass of Honor last year, and there was so much interest. Of course, Central Europe would have less and less knowledge of what's happening with our country, and when we started introducing our literature to Germany, there was so much interest. There's interest in graphic novels. There's also interest in literature, like what Kun Seksan does. And but we are always labeled as the global south, and of course we want to get out of that label, and that's also how the Philippines is seen by those outside of the Philippines. That it still connects with that poverty porn situation that we. It's also a different label. With Global South is another label that's being cast onto us, and we want to get out of that label. But there's a big opportunity, and like not just talking about poverty, not just talking about the lives of people in Southeast Asia, but we also need to bring all kinds of content from Southeast Asia, and that has to do a lot with the varied genres that we're introducing to the world. Thank you.
Thank you. And Jerome.
Yeah, well, just to being from France and just to give you a little bit of yeah, just a background information about what I do. And so basically, I I am based in Southeast Asia, and I try to promote more Southeast Asian stories to foreign publishers. And yeah, I've been doing this work for maybe more than 10 years now, and it was a bit difficult at first to say the truth. But there is now, I think, whereby the publishers are more and more interested in more and more interested in Southeast Asia, and not only about Southeast Asian stories that are just like culturally different, but also to the universal community, you could say, that tackles universal topics with a Southeast Asian point of view. And France has always been quite strong at translating from many, many languages. But the fact that Southeast Asia is also very diverse linguistically, linguistically diverse region, makes it difficult, of course, for works to travel. And now that we have more and more translators working in a variety of languages, I feel like it's a good moment to push more. it's a good moment to push more now that, and work together with translators, literary agents, and local publishers as well to try and push more Southeast Asian content to the rest of the world.
Well, my role actually is to promote Hong Kong writings to overseas markets. And this is a fairly new project that I started in 2020, which is called The Art. Because, well, in Hong Kong supposedly is an international city, but Hong Kong people's voice are not internationally heard. And very often, even though Hong Kong is considered like, as Aini has said, like, independent publishing territories, but heavily influenced by Taiwanese translation and also Chinese translation. Like we do not really have our own translation industry, although we don't really have an agency industry. So, so I often find myself like being quite indigenous in the sense that we are always the peripheral of the peripheral. So Chinese is kind of like, even though it's growing, but kind of like peripheral, and Hong Kong is a kind of a peripheral of the peripherals. Whatever. So, so in this sense, I'm trying to engage, like opening up conversations because I believe some contents from Hong Kong definitely will share with a wider Southeast Asia or international readership. Especially we are now, of course, in a very globalized society where we have experienced like pressure, anxiety, work, and right now Hong Kong like in a very fast-paced, pressured society, we experience a very we are prone to mental illness, definitely mental illness. A lot of people like getting depression, schizophrenia, and so on. So, in this sense, I guess these experiences are very common and can be brought to a wider circle of readers.
Thank you. Unfortunately, for these two panels, we don't have time. So we would like to move forward on the next agenda, which is giving symbolically the fisherman from Malay to Mr. Aton Kochakada. So I'm inviting here to come up with me on stage for the signing of the MOU between Prapansam Publishing and Gramedia International for the new titles that will be published in Indonesia. So please welcome and applause to Mr. Aton Kechakada to kindly go up on stage to sign some contract with Gramedia symbolically and to close the event. And also Kiridaren to give this the book symbolically to Mr. Aton Kechakada. Thank you very much. Applause to these two publishers' collaboration for the next titles of Mr. Seksan Prasertkul into Bahasa Indonesia. For River and Robinson. Yes, please. And then I would love to invite Kiridaren to symbolically give the newly published book of Mr. Seksan Prasertkul in Malay language. Please. we would like to have you a picture with Malayan in Malaysia version. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So that's it of the discussion about the works of Seksan Prasertkul, and we would like to close this event, and thank you very much for your attention. We will have a group picture, group photo between all the illustrator agents and publisher, and then next we will have a full photo version of all of us. So I will invite our panelists again, and then Mr. Atonte Chatada and Ms. Kanakon Montasawasli to come up on stage. Please come up on stage to have a group picture.
ขึ้นไปถ่ายรูปไปที่เขาปล่อยข่าว
Yeah, sure. Kiri, where are you? Jerome? Thank you very much all, and I would like to welcome and congratulate once more Miss Yang Zhuangzi for the book that was shortlisted for Booker Prize. She is here with us for the Chomanat